Okay, we're going to be talking about a Bigfoot type creature tonight. Now, this happened in a nice town somewhere around Virginia. Quite the normal areas. The town, of course, had a main road through it, and that main road carried your major stores and also the local business people there. And on the one side, you would see the stores and falling off toward the back, office areas, and then a little bit farther back, you can see housing starting, different housing groups. Some housing groups are quite lavish, an assortment of everything there. Now, we had a young man that grew up there, finished his high school, and his parents had given him a home out in the country. The one side of the road, of course, started to be a little bit countrified. It was nice because they made like walking trails in the first areas right adjacent to the road. They made picnic and playgrounds, and then as it got back farther, got into more of a thicker wooded area. And then there was, of course, a reasonable mountain area there, and that got very thick and got very high, quite rocky, quite dense with the overgrowth. So it was quite an assortment of a beautiful area, actually. And up until now, most of the people in this area had never seen anything like what had happened. Now, the one thing we checked into this is a story I got from some people I was with as I was getting out of the military, and they were quite into many, many things. One of them was witchcraft. Another one had some friends that were into checking on monsters and things like that. And they relayed this to me many, many years back. And what happened is a young man with his house and his dog, he had a perfect setting until one night things started happening. He noticed glowing eyes looking back at him from the dense brush adjacent to his home. As things went on, the contact became a little closer. Many loud growls, knocks, and strange howling sounds. Eventually, it grew to the point where it began to get a little bit too dangerous. He lost his poor dog to the creatures. He would go to work, tell people that he just didn't know what to do. This creature just kept prowling around from all angles and at different times, and it was just driving him crazy because he had no idea what he did to it. And many of the people there laughed at him because they thought, hey, we lived here a long time ourselves and we don't have any problems like this. The young man tried to continue on with his home, but it got to be a little too much for him. He even started to hear started scratching, crawling, and sounds coming from the attic, he told me. So he wasn't sure exactly what was happening, but he didn't like it. So he went in another night and tried to get some help from some of the friends there. But basically it turned into kind of making a joke out of him. He decided he was going to head for home. There was a new guy that came in there. He was a veteran, and he stopped and he told him, "You have a problem with the monster?" And the young man acknowledged, "Yes, I do." He said, "Then meet me outside. I'm going to try to point you in the right direction." So he met him outside. He told him that you got two choices. You can run away, move, let the monster have his own way, or make it uncomfortable for the monster. So he said, "We'll talk about this, and I'll let you know all the things that are involved. You think about it if you think you'd like to perhaps give a little bit of this annoyance back to this monster." The next day they got together and they laid out plans. Basically, they had to turn from purely defensive to a bit of an offense. Now, creature would come around and he would try to look in the windows. Sometimes even try to stick his paw with nasty claws in through the openings. He has had to learn to keep his windows down and locked and be sure that the doors were all locked, definitely. They checked his home, and what had happened is apparently the fear level was so high in the forest that a lot of the little creatures were looking for a place to get away from this. And it was basically just normal little creatures up there trying to hide and stay away from whatever this creature was that was dominating the area. So this creature liked to look in the windows. So he said, "Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to dig down about 8 to 10 inches all the way in the area, approaching the window and out about 3 feet from the window. So it'll be a nice rectangular area there. We're going to dig down 8 to 10 inches, and we're going to take broken glass. We're going to take bottles, broken glass, put them side by side, shoulder to shoulder. Then we'll cover it with a very light tarp material that we can then sprinkle some ground over it, and it's not thick enough to stop the penetration. If someone were to step on this, it's a very thin material, yet it will help hold ground above it. So it will look like you're approaching a normal window area, and will bring a little bit of a surprise to the creature. Next thing he also suggested is one of the things he needs to do is get some very powerful lighting. And then we're going to place this powerful lighting in some people might think it was a strange way, but they were going to place it at the entrance to the thicker woods pointed back toward his house. Now that way, if the creature got startled, injured by stepping on some broken glass, and he headed back toward the house, perhaps even being shot at, these bright lights would come on and make it a little more difficult for him to navigate his way through the brush to make it into the thick woods. They also got some military-type flares, rigged them up with wiring, trip wires, so that if the creature were to come in, he could possibly set off some of these bright flares, obviously letting you know he's there and it's up to no good. So those dangerous confrontations were about to begin. They began, and it was quite unusual. It was actually turned up a notch, if you could believe that. He said in reviewing it after things were done that this creature was loud originally, but when these things started happening with the tripwires setting off flares, and then he did in fact fall prey to stepping on the broken glass, enough to bring blood. He got rather loud, louder than you'd ever heard him, and the tone definitely was, if he were to get a hold of you, he would maul you and leave you as a tasty morsel somewhere. After this first conflict, they put up more tripwires. They got a rather high-powered weapon, got a weapon that was suitable for killing elephants, and had that ready. The creature came in and was quite disturbed. He knew enough to stay away from the windows, yet he did dare to go near them, but not enter onto the pads where the glass was. He apparently had enough from one good sore foot. As the tripwires went off, he would answer these tripwires. The idea was to shoot. If you saw a trip light go off, flip the window off, take a shot out there, not even aiming, pop off 2 or 3 shots. Tripwire goes off in another spot, same thing. Get there quick, open the crack in the window, and bang, bang, bang. Trying to scare this creature, letting him know you're there and you're fighting back. Now, one of these times when he just blindly shot after seeing the lights go on, he heard a rather strange tone and noise from the creature, not knowing if it was actually hit seriously or perhaps wounded, but it made a rather strange noise for a while and then took off for the woods. Of course, they flipped on the extra bright lights in the woods, which caused him erratic zigzagging. It was definitely hard for him to see because these lights they would have lit up quite a few football stadiums. It was bright. Amazingly enough, after that second encounter and all the violence that ensued, things seemed to quiet down in the area. He had no more problems and was glad in the way that he saw the creature running into the woods. He really had no desire to kill the creature. He would have liked to live with the creature in harmony, but that was not what the creature wanted to do. So the creature did get the idea and the emphasis to leave and try a different area. So this young man who was ready to leave his home got the help of a veteran, and together with some hard work and a little expense, they put together a plan that worked, a plan to turn things around in this war that the creature created. The creature was looking for a much quieter place, I'm sure, without all the bright lights, the broken glass, and those strange wires that he keeps tripping over and is setting off flares over his head. So somewhere he's looking for a peace and quiet, I assume. So anyway, thank you very much for listening. Please like, subscribe, share with like-minded friends. Feel free to leave a comment. Don't forget to hit that bell down there so you'll know the next time that I release a video. Thank you very much for watching. Bless y'all. Take care.